Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
This is Mac.
And we are doing our Natsu Banzuke review episode, the first ever competitive GSB Banzuke review episode.
That's right.
And as the first champion has been decided, Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit about how Mac managed to beat you?
Well, that is, in fact, not the case.
I think you're being too modest there, Ryan. Please elaborate a little bit more on how well I did.
Yeah, tell us more about our champion, Ryan.
So I did fairly well. I got 24 exactly correct predictions.
No.
Completely doing away with the notion that Mac in any way beat me on this Banzuke prediction.
I think, actually, Ryan, sorry, I think there may have been a mistake in the numbers, but, you know, we're going to have to agree to disagree here. And I already wrote out a bunch of, I already scripted out a bunch of stuff as if Mac won, and I don't do rewrites. So
Ryan,
we're just going to have to go with this.
It's okay being a sore loser. I understand that. It's okay. We can work through this.
You understand as a sore loser what it's like to be a sore loser, Mac?
I don't know. I've never lost.
Well, like I said, we're going to have to agree to disagree here. So we're going to start with Ryan, and then later on we can get on to Dearest Sweet Mac, the apple of our podcast's eye, the true champion of all GSB Banzuke guessing. But anyways, Ryan, why don't you take it from the top here, and let's go through the list.
Maybe the champion in your hearts, but not the actual champion of predicting Banzukes on this podcast. Let's dig in to the actual review. So at Yokozuna, we got those right. Both Mac and I. Hey, good job, both of us. We both had Hakuho and Kakuryu. Hakuho on the east side, Kakuryu on the west side. And so now that, spoiler alert, Asanoyama has been promoted to the Ozeki rank, there's no longer a need to have that finicky Yokozuna Ozeki rank that we talked about so much in the previous Banzuke. So it was a one and done for Kakuryu to act as the Yokozuna Ozeki, which, as we discussed before, is ultimately meaningless. So as it is meaningless, we never have to talk about it again until Takayasu gets demoted after this upcoming Basho, whenever that happens to take place.
And then everything is on the table again.
Yeah.
Including such wild, crazy shenanigans as a Yokozuna Ozeki.
Yes.
Not again, please.
It was too much.
At the Ozeki rank on the east side, we are going to have Takayasu, and on the west side, as we spoiled before, we will have Asanoyama making his not Sanyaku debut, I was about to say, Ozeki debut.
There you go.
At his career high rank, obviously, of Ozeki West. So kind of a theme on this Banzuke. There's 12 career highs. Over a quarter of guys are at their career high rank coming into this upcoming Basho. And so some people might be asking themselves, why is Asanoyama ranked below Takayasu? Asanoyama had a better record than Takayasu in the previous Basho. It's always the case where the Shin Ozeki, the new Ozeki, will be the lowest ranked Ozeki, no matter what records the other Ozekis had. So as we go down to the Sekiwake rank, on the east side, you do have Shodai, who is also at his career high, his previous career high being Sekiwake West. So this slide over the east marks a career high for him. And on the west, we have the triumphant return of Mitakeyumi to the Sekiwake rank. So something I noted for Mitakeyumi, this is actually the rank, Sekiwake, that he has been the most times in his career. So he started his career in Makushita because he was real good in university and was only in Makushita for 2 Basho. And then he steamrolled right through Juryo, was only in there for 2 Basho. And then since he's been in the top division, he's been Komosubi 7 times, Maegashira 9 times, and this will be his 12th time as a Sekiwake in his career. So Mitakeyumi has spent well over half of his career in the Sanyaku ranks.
That's so cool. And
awesome.
And he's got those, he's got Yushos to him, you know, too. He's got like,
he's got 2 of them.
He's got like all the possible accomplishments except for the consistency necessary to get up higher.
Yeah.
I think it would be nuts if he managed to have a career like this and somehow never get Ozeki.
I want to see him win 7 Yusho and, like you said, never become Ozeki.
Yeah, just like alternate 7 and 8s with 14 and 1s or something like that, and just that'd be crazy. Mac, as the smartest man alive and champion, what do you think about our 2 Sekiwake this tournament?
I feel that with the departure of Goedo, that the void he has left can certainly be filled, and Mitake Yumi is that void filler.
He's the new mediocre guy at the top?
I believe so, yes. He's been our reigning champ for most disappointing for the past 2 years. I think he can make this a run.
Well, as the Nostradamus of sumo, I have to take you at your word there. I think you've got this. You've got a great take there.
Thank you.
The look on Ryan's face on this video chat makes this stupid gimmick totally worth it.
It totally
you said
does.
it, stupid gimmick, not me. Moving on to the Komusubi rank, we have yet another career high as Daisho is going to be ranked as your East Komusubi. His previous career high was West Komusubi. And joining him at Komusubi rank is going to be Okinoumi, who is back in the Sanyaku ranks for the first time since November of 2016 when he was a Sekiwake.
So far, my predictions have been perfect. See, again, I'm not wrong.
God, you're good at this, Mac.
I'm right? Oh, damn, I'm good.
Also, I was trying to think of last time Okinoumi was in the Sanyaku ranks. I'm like, November 2016. That's right, that month. The most important thing that happened. That's right, Okinoumi was in the Sanyaku ranks most recently.
Something I kind of did with this Banzuke, because I was having a little bit of trouble with inspiration on what to type for our little filler conversation for each of these ranks. And so I just kind of, since we had so many career highs, I kind of wanted to look at like all of the old timers, like how long has it been since they've been at this particular rank. And you'll find kind of across the board that a lot of people are at their lowest rank in quite some time. So to kind of go along with all the career highs that we're seeing a lot of not career lows, obviously, but just kind of careers kind of on a downturn at this point. So I kind of wanted to look at just how long it's been since people have been at certain points. And Okinoumi, certainly it's been almost 4 years since he's been in the Sanyaku ranks. I thought that was kind of notable. Daisho, this is going to be his second time in the Sanyaku ranks. His first was just Hatsu earlier this year where he went 7 and 8. I will also point out that I have been perfect so far as well.
Nobody cares.
Yes, let's talk more about Mac.
Indeed.
So let's move on to the Zone of Death, the top Maegashira ranks that are going to be going up against all of the top rankers in the Sanyaku ranks. And on the east side, we are going to have
Now, before
Endo.
you say that, Ryan, here is where I have to object. Clearly, the JSA did not listen to my predictions accurately. I am never wrong.
Well, this is the first time Mac has ever gotten a pick wrong when doing a Banzuke prediction. For
Indeed.
Well, lucky for Mac, he's going to get used to that feeling real quick, looking at his prediction.
Say that. The JSA and I just don't get along. Clearly, my picks were correct. They just don't agree with. No, they're not right.
We're going to send a letter, but let's just let Ryan get his rambling out of the way here.
Yes. So Endo, as I correctly predicted, ended up as your East Maegashira 1. And on your west side, you're going to have Takayama at his career high rank. Like I said, a very common trend throughout this basho. So Takayama is my first miss on this Banzuke. So putting this one together, I tried something a little bit different where I put more faith in the math of the ranks and like kind of the rule of thumb than I typically do. So as I've said many times before, rule of thumb is wins minus losses equals the number of ranks promoted. So for example, Takayasu, who was 12 and 3, 12 minus 3, that's 9. He was at Maegashira 9, add 9 to that. That would put him at the Komusubi rank. Okinoumi, he, by the math, would have been Maegashira 1 because he was a Maegashira 2, 8 and 7 record, 8 minus 7, 1. You'd expect him to be at Maegashira 1, and the same with Yu Takayama. He was Maegashira 3, 8 and 7, add 1, Maegashira 2. So by the math, Takanosho should have been Komosubi, but knowing from past experience that math doesn't always work and that the Rikishi in the Joy tend to get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to promotions and demotions, I trusted that instinct a little bit for putting Oki no Umi at the Komosubi rank, but for some reason, I just kind of messed up with Yu Takayama. If I hadn't been trusting the math as much on this one, I probably would have had Yu Takayama ahead of Takanosho. But as I was trusting the numbers a bit more, mixed those two guys up. So I had Takanosho at Maegashira 1 West, but it's actually Yu Takayama. So I need to, going forward, still use the math because I think that worked out a little bit towards the bottom of the Banzuke, but need to trust my instincts when it comes to Sanyaku and Joy Rikishi getting the benefit of the doubt.
I'm excited for the very next Banzuke analysis episode we do where you learn the exact opposite lesson.
Oh, yeah. The JSA switches the rules every single time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's about how consistent this is. There's always a few where it's just like purely, I guess I'll do that guy.
Yeah. So yeah, Yu Takayama, my first miss, just off by 1/2 rank. We go to Maegashira 2 rank. On the east side, we have the aforementioned Takanosho. And say it with me, everybody. He is at a career high. Nobody said that with me.
No, you seemed like you had it.
Yeah.
All right. And like I said, missed him by 1/2 rank. But I get back to my perfect predictions with placing Onosho at Maegashira 2 West. Onosho is actually at his highest rank and back in the Joy for the first time since his knee injury when he was at Komosubi in March of 2018. It doesn't really feel like it's been 2 years since Onosho has been at this level of the Banzuke, but he's really been down for 2 full years after that injury. Kind of sad, but glad to see him back here.
I am excited to see him go against his lifetime rival Takakeisho for the first time in a while.
Yes.
That'll be cool to see. Those guys, we mentioned it occasionally on the show, but like I think Fleric looked it up. They go back all the way to like middle school or something. They've been facing off against each other in sumo.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool story, I think.
Yeah. Moving on to Maegashira 3. On the east side, we have Takara Fuji. And on the west side, we are going to have Kiribayama, who, once again, at a career high. And also going to make him a Luck of the Banzuke candidate. Not so much just for this Banzuke, but the past 2 Banzukes. Kiribayama getting a healthy 5-rank jump after just a 9-6 record. So that's a good jump after a 9-6 record. He's already in the Joy after just 2 Basho in the Makuuchi division, where he was Maegashira 17 in Hatsu, got 11-4, jumped up to 9 ranks to Maegashira 8, then got a 9-6 record from there, jumped up 5 to Maegashira 3.
It sounds kind of familiar to something we covered just recently here, where Asashoryu, back in like the early 2000s, spent only 2 Basho as a Maegashira, even though he only had 9 and 6s, and got some extreme luck. So Kiribayama definitely on a solid track there. Far too early to compare him to Asashoryu in any other way, but I thought that was kind of an interesting comparison to something that we just studied.
I don't think so. I think clearly future Dai Yokozuna, at least 20 to 30 Yusho minimum for Kiribayama.
I was going to say like 15 or so without getting my hopes too high, but whatever.
All right, let's move on to the Maegashira 4 rank. On the east side, we are going to have Kagayaki at his career high, his previous career high being Maegashira 4 West. Moving over to the east side, we'll make it a career high for him. And on the west side, we have Aoyama. So Aoyama is my third miss on this one. I had him off by 1/2 rank. I thought he was going to come in at Maegashira 5 East. And I had Abi, who ended up at Maegashira 5 East. I had him staying put after his 7-8 record. So just a little bit of a misstep there. But don't worry, before too long, we'll get right back to the perfect predictions.
I do have to say, for this being my first attempt at this, I was only off by the Joy ranks by about 1.5 ranks. That was my average error on that. And all of them were in the zone of death.
Yeah, there's one Mac, genius of geniuses.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
That I would like to talk about when we get there. But I think Hokuto Fuji is one that's worth a little bit of discussion, but we'll get there in a minute, I think.
Yes. So let's just get there. Maegashira 5, we are now out of the Joy. We are in the mid-Banzuke portion of the Banzuke.
There you go, attaboy.
Figured it out.
We're cutting out here.
The mid-Banzuke is quite a bit easier than the bottom of the Banzuke, let's take a look. Yep, just got one rank wrong in the middle Banzuke portion, the aforementioned Abi. And so on the west side, we are going to have Hokuto Fuji slotting in at Maegashira 5 West. So my typical scenario where you have a Rikishi that went 7 and 8 remaining at his previous rank while he is in a zone where people are being over-promoted, and which is exactly where we are at. Kiribayama getting a 5 rank jump after a 9 and 6 record would show we're in a zone where people are being over-promoted. For some reason, it didn't work out this time. He also did not get the benefit of the doubt as a Rikishi in the Joy, kind of going up against a lower-ranked Rikishi for a higher rank. So it was either going to be Aoyama or Abi at that Maegashira 4 West slot. I figured Abi was 7 and 8, gets the benefit of the doubt being in the Joy. There's people being over-promoted all around him. Perfect person to just stay put and kind of stem the flow of bleeding for all of our over promotions. But I guess they decided Aoyama's 11 and 4 record was worthy of a 9 rank jump from Maegashira 13 all the way up to Maegashira 4.
He got a physique boost, I think, for that.
Ugh, that's sad if they're putting that kind of boost on that kind of body.
Big Daniel is the ideal man, and I will accept no other opinions.
And a quick note on Hokuto Fuji. He's dropping out of the Joy for the first time since September of 2018. So, Jake, you kind of wanted to discuss Hokuto Fuji a little bit more here.
Yeah, Mac, I was kind of curious on your thinking here, because I understand that you are the smartest man alive, and you know more about sports than anyone else that's on this current chat.
Well, thank you.
But but I noticed this is one of the picks that gave you trouble, and I was kind of curious, just in your learning how the Banzuke works, what was your line of thinking that because you had Hokuto Fuji up at like Maegashira 2, I believe.
The biggest learning curve, I would say, for this one is learning how the Makikoshis affect with their performances and like who their opponents did. So in my initial calculations, I tried to factor in who their opponents were, not just their actual records, and that kind of skewed a lot of my numbers. I mean, there was still a lot of like, well, this guy's clearly an upper level Rikishi, so obviously he's going to stay a little bit more toward the top. I should learn to keep my opinions to myself in that matter and just stick with the numbers.
Yes, that is something I think when I like go on Reddit or Twitter and see people's reactions to where people end up in the rankings, and they're surprised, like, oh, I'm surprised that this guy dropped so far. He had been doing so well before this. It does not matter. It's, for the most part, all math on where people end up. It doesn't matter if you're Hokuto Fuji and you've been in the Joy since Aki of 2018. They do give you a slight benefit of the doubt, but that really only comes into effect when you're like 7 and 8, 8 and 7 record.
Right.
They'll give you a slight benefit of the doubt there. They might not drop you as far if you have a 7 and 8, or they might promote you a little bit further or ahead of somebody like Takayasu, who was outside of the Joy. By the math, he should have been ahead of Okinoumi Takayama, but they get the benefit of the doubt being in the Joy. But it's just a slight amount. It really doesn't affect it a whole lot. And especially once you get to this mid-Banzuke section, it is all just straight up math on where they end up.
Yeah, and even if you give a guy a little bit of a boost for being in the Joy, only that tournament really comes into play.
Yeah, like, previous tournaments, how you've done in there, irrelevant. It is strictly your record in the past tournament. Where do you go? It's a soulless and thoughtless system for the most part.
I would say that is the big thing that skewed a lot of my decisions with that. I should have just trusted the math a little bit more.
There you go. So what formula did you use to determine rankings?
We don't have enough time to actually get into that.
That's a fair point. So we will move on. Oh, it's actually important to note, Maegashira 5 broke our streak of 7 straight ranks that had somebody at their career high rank from Ozeki to Maegashira 4. But never fear, we are going to renew that streak in a little bit. Not quite at Maegashira 6, where on the east side, we are going to have Enho, and on the west side, we are going to have Ryuden. Ryuden's also going to be another one of my luck of the Banzuke candidates. He's only dropping 1 rank after a 6-9 record, which is not unheard of. We've predicted that on this podcast before and gotten that correct. But this is the first time that I've seen it happen at this high of a rank. Usually you see somebody only dropping 1 rank after a 6-9 record at like Maegashira 13 and below, where the crazy bullcrap happens.
Yeah, we get into prison rules once we get into double-digit Maegashira, but like
we get deep into the prison rules this basho too.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, like something like a 6-9 only dropping 1 rank at Maegashira 6. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, and it looks like you actually predicted that one correct.
I did.
You of second place in this contest.
Yeah. So. And I also looked into just how often it does happen, because obviously I've only been predicting Banzuke for 2 years, so maybe it happens a lot more than I thought. But it has only happened 16 times in the entire 211 instances where a M5 Rikishi has gotten 6 wins. So that is just 7.5% of the time where they will drop 1 rank. And this is just the 4th time that it's happened in the past 20 years. So it's 6-9 record at Maegashira 5 happens a lot, but dropping down to Maegashira 6 does not happen a lot. And it certainly hasn't happened while we've been watching sumo. So moving down to Maegashira 7 on the east side. Oh, by the way, Maegashira 6, both of those perfect predictions. Maegashira 7 on the east side, we're going to have Terutsuyoshi, and we're going to be starting a small little streak again of people at their career high. As Terutsuyoshi's previous career high, I believe, was Maegashira 9. He is going to be at Maegashira 7. And we're going to have Tokushoryu getting a little lucky, dropping only 5 ranks after his 4-11 record, which is, again, not unprecedented. And in fact, we had a couple of other Rikishi that were even luckier on this Banzuke with that same 4-11 record. But like I said, this sort of thing usually occurs further down the Banzuke. Both of those predictions, Jake, can you tell everybody how accurate those predictions were for me?
Yeah, they were spot on, which is really impressive for somebody coming up just behind a man who is honestly my role model.
Jake, I thank you. I thank you so much. But please, it's okay. Give Ryan his...
great guesser of Banzukes and knower of things and all that.
Let Ryan have his time to shine. It's okay. We know how awesome I am.
Yeah, these are my episodes. Shut up.
You're right. I'm sorry. I'll start complimenting Max slightly less.
Thank you.
As we move on to Maegashira 8, and I will point out 2 more absolutely pristine predictions on my part. Just cannot pat myself on the back anymore. Ishiura at Maegashira 8 East, another career high. So his previous career high was Maegashira 8 West, so this East slot gets him a career high. On the West side, you're going to have Chiyo Tairyu. So it's kind of hard for me to believe, but this Ishiura is at his... he's at his highest career rank. That alone is kind of hard for me to believe.
I agree.
That Maegashira 8 is his highest rank. This will only be his 3rd basho ever as a single-digit Maegashira, and his first since November of 2017. I know Ishiura has kind of been struggling going back and forth between Juryo the past couple of years, but I guess I just never realized that his absolute high was never really all that high.
Yeah, he just like a lot of guys that have a non-standard style, I guess you could say. He burst onto the scene with a 10-5 from Maegashira 15 in his career debut in the top division, but that only got him up to Maegashira 9, and he just kind of hovered in between Maegashira 10 and very top of Juryo ever since. Yep. So yeah, I guess I totally agree. Like it is surprising to me, but I wouldn't have guessed it. But I guess it kind of makes sense because he's always pretty close to 500 there in the bottom section of the Banzuke.
Yeah. So we will move on to the Maegashira 9 rank, where on the east side we will have Tamawashi, and on the west side we will have Ikioi. I predicted both of those guys correctly as well. Tamawashi is coming down from the best stretch of his career. I mean, obviously he won a Yusho last year. He spent a lot of time up in the Sanyaku ranks and in the Joy. So the last time he was ranked this low was in Nagoya of 2016, which is right before we started watching sumo. So this is where we're going to start seeing the trends where we're seeing guys ranked lower than we've ever seen them since we've been watching sumo. And Tamawashi is one of those guys who we've never seen him ranked this low while we've been watching sumo.
And on the other hand, it's the highest that we've seen Ikioi in a year and a half.
No, that's true.
So we will exit the safe, warm comfort of the middle of the Banzuke, and we will go to the barren wastelands that is the bottom of the Banzuke and the double-digit Maegashira. So at Maegashira 10 on the east side, we will have Kaisei. I was off by just a half rank on Kaisei. I had him slotted in at the west slot. And then on the west side, we're going to have Miyugiryu. So Miyugiryu is very lucky as he is only dropping 4 ranks after a 4-11 record. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit more in just a couple of ranks. Kaisei also getting fairly lucky with a 4-rank jump after just an 8-7 record. That, I think lucky is the word of this episode of the podcast, because that's all it is. Everybody's just super lucky, just like, hey, I only dropped 4 ranks after a 4-11 record. That's pretty lucky. Hey, I jumped 4 ranks after an 8-7 record. That's pretty lucky. There is little to no unluckiness on this Banzuke, and I've always been able to find at least 1 or 2 people that have been unlucky. Not on this one. Miyugiryu I missed by a full rank because it's stupid that a person with a 4-11 record only dropped 4 ranks. That's stupid, JSA.
It may be, but I will have to point out that our resident expert here got this pick a little bit closer than you got it, Ryan.
Yes.
Our first champion of competitive GSB Banzuke prediction had Miyugiryu off by just 1, whereas Ryan had him off by 2 slots.
Yeah, I will also point out that I had Kaisei off by just 1 slot, whereas Mac, our apparently preeminent Banzuke guesser, had him off by 2 slots, making the Maegashira 10 rank a wash for the 2 of us.
I'm willing to concede this one a wash. It's okay, Jake. It's okay. We'll concede.
This guy, though, he's always trying to change the subject.
It's okay. It's okay.
We will move on to the Maegashira 11 rank, where on the east side we are going to have Shima no Umi, and on the west side we are going to have Tochi no Shin. Shima no Umi, I was off by 2 slots. I had him going up at the Maegashira 10 rank, and Tochi no Shin, I was off by 1 slot. I just had him slotted in on the east side of Maegashira 11. Not really much to say here. I mean, we're at the bottom of the Banzuke. You expect them to be in this range. You just kind of have to hope that your line of logic matches up with what the JSA is thinking once you get to the bottom of the Banzuke. So I didn't quite hit these guys perfectly, but continuing our theme of guys that are at their lowest rank in quite a while, Tochi no Shin is another one of them. So his Ozeki drop is continuing as he is at his lowest rank since he came back to the Makuuchi division after his severe leg injury that dropped him all the way down to Makushita in 2014. So the last time he was ranked below Maegashira 11 was actually when he was in Juryo in Aki of 2014. He was ranked Juryo 5. He went 15-0, and after that Basho, he was promoted all the way up to Maegashira 8. He did drop down to Maegashira 10 a couple of times after that, but he hasn't been this far down the Banzuke in 6 years.
That's really cool. I didn't realize that he got a 15-0 in Juryo. That is a very, very rare score in that division.
Yeah, and that's back when they promoted the ever-loving crap out of Juryo people. They don't really do that anymore. But yeah, jumping all the way up from Juryo 5 to Maegashira 8. Not unprecedented, because we've seen stuff in the past. I know we talked about like Kakuryu jumped from Juryo to Maegashira like 8 or 9 after a 9-6 record. So like I said, they used to promote the ever-loving piss out of Juryo Rikshi. They don't do that anymore.
Clearly, the JSA didn't get my memo. That's how it should be.
Yeah, we'll have a pick that we're gonna want to talk about that you made later, Mac.
I will defend that. I will defend it.
You of Banzuke prophesizing.
Before we get there, let's talk about the Maegashira 12 rank. Where on the east side, I did accurately predict Sada no Umi falling at that rank. But then we get to my worst guess on this Banzuke, where we have Sho Hozan, a Luck of the Banzuke candidate. I missed him by 5 slots. That's 2.5 numbered ranks. So Sho Hozan is the other lucky Rikishi that had a 4-11 record and only dropped 4 ranks. So as we mentioned before, it was Miyugiryu who was also there. Give me just one slight moment, and I will let my annoying cat out of the room that I'm currently in.
Yeah, I had to do that about a minute or two ago.
Bubbles at least ran in and then ran out.
Yes, and then she was permanently banished with the door closing.
Correct.
Yes. My sweet, loving boy, I have kicked out of the room because he meows a little too loudly, and I will not stand for it. So as I was saying, Sho Hozan and Miyugiryu both only dropped 4 ranks after a 4-11 record, which by the math, we would expect around like a 6 to 7 rank drop for those guys. So fairly significantly less than we would expect. So I kind of looked into the history, how often it happened, kind of like we did with Ryuden. So for Miyugiryu at the rank of Maegashira 6, his 4-rank drop has happened only 11 previous times out of 153 instances. So it's only happened 7% of the time where a Maegashira 6 will drop to Maegashira 10 after a 4-11 record. Just 7% of the time. And Sho Hozan's 4-rank drop from Maegashira 8 is even more rare. That has only happened 3 previous times out of 72 instances, so 4% of the time. So for both of these things to happen in one basho, I'm going to move that math over to your court, Jake. But I would assume that that's very, very rare that you would have both like a 7% chance thing to happen and a 4% chance thing to happen at the same time in the same Banzuke.
Yeah, I plugged that into my Boston math calculator here, and it said that is wicked strange.
Wicked strange indeed. So I did check to see if there were even smaller drops in rank that have happened after a 4-11 record from the Maegashira 6 and Maegashira 8 ranks respectively, just because I'm curious. I want to know if I need to take that into account in the future. So there has only ever been one instance of a 3-rank drop from Maegashira 6 after a 4-11 record, and that was back in 1960. And there has been no Rikishi that dropped less than 4 ranks after a 4-11 record from Maegashira 8 rank. So luckily, probably don't need to consider any lesser ranks. This is probably the bottom range of Rikishi dropping after a 4-11 record. But it was noteworthy because both of these guys had that happen on the same Banzuke. And for Sho Hozan, that one was more confusing because I got Miyugiryu fairly close. But Sho Hozan, I was off by 2.5 ranks. And reason being, once again, I was trusting my math quite a bit here. And by the math, there's a lot of people that kind of fit into this range of Maegashira 12, Maegashira 13, and below. So we didn't need to slot Sho Hozan in here. Typically, if somebody's dropping down not very far, it's because there's nobody else to pull up to replace them. That's not the case with Sho Hozan. We could have bumped up Koto Nowaka, who had a 9-6 record. He would have bumped up 6 ranks after a 9-6 record. We talked about how that happened on just the previous basho. Somebody jumped up 6 ranks after a 9-6 record in this range. Maybe we didn't drop Takayasu. He ended up at Maegashira 13 East. Maybe we just drop him 1 less half rank. He easily could have slotted in there. And then there's more people that could have filled that in. So we could have given Sho Hozan the proper like 6 to 7 rank drop. So I'm kind of confused with the Sho Hozan one, really. Miyugiryu makes sense. Not really any replacements that could have gone in there. The Sho Hozan one is a little bit more head scratching for that instance. So that kind of explains why he is my biggest miss on this Banzuke. But let's move on to Maegashira 13. On the east side, we do have the aforementioned Takayasu. I missed him by half a rank as I had him slotted into that slot where Sho Hozan ended up. And Koto Nowaka on the west side, he is at his career high in only his second basho in the Makuuchi division. I had Koto Nowaka just sliding over to that east slot, so just a half rank off from him as well. So Takayasu, another one of those guys where this is the lowest that we've seen and the lowest that they've been for a long time. So he dropped 12 ranks after his winless performance from the Maegashira 1 rank. And so Maegashira 13 is the lowest rank that in the Makuuchi division that Takayasu has literally ever been. When he was promoted from Juryo in Nagoya of 2011, he was promoted up to Maegashira 11 and only ever dropped to Maegashira 12 once after that. So Maegashira 13 is new territory for Takayasu. He's never been ranked this low in the Makuuchi division.
I'm glad you explained that, because my inference was that when he was born, they just put him at Maegashira 12.
That could very well have been the case. I imagine he was a very large baby and at least somewhat capable in the art of sumo.
From birth, yes. Just from the womb.
So let us move on to Maegashira 14, where on the east side we will have Koto Shogiku. Missed him by half a rank as well. I had him going at Maegashira 13 West. And on the west side, unfortunately, my final exact perfect prediction, but we have Wakataka Kage slotted in there. The undefeated king of Makuuchi is making his triumphant return to the Makuuchi division, where if his 4-match history lays any precedent, he will run roughshod over the entire division and make his Yokozuna debut, I would assume no later than mid-2021.
I think there's one other Rikishi that we should cover as, and we'll get there when we get there, but there's one other guy on this Banzuke that I think may potentially have a greater claim to being the greatest of all time that is in the top division. But
Hakuho?
No.
We covered him.
No. But there's another guy who, even more so than Wakataka Kage, has had an absurdly successful Sekitori career that we need to discuss. But yes, Wakataka Kage never ever lost in the top division. He went 4-0 before he exploded his leg off?
Yep. Fusen losses don't count, so he is undefeated in the Makuuchi division.
Yes, no one has ever defeated him in the ring.
Correct. So let's move on to the Maegashira 15 rank, where on the east side... Oh, by the way, Wakataka Kage, career high.
Of course.
Maegashira 15 on the east side, we have making his Makuuchi debut. We have Koto Shoho, the 20-year-old Koto Shoho, obviously making his career high as this is his Makuuchi debut. And we also have Chiyomaru, who he had a 7-8 record. Well, 7-6-2 record, but it counts as a 7-8. He actually is not moving at all from his previous slot in the previous Basho, where he was also ranked Maegashira 15 West. And I'm a little confused as to why he did not drop at all in the rankings. So typically 7-8 Rikishi don't drop when there is no good option to take their place. I would argue that guys like Koto Eiko or Teruno Fuji could have easily taken that Maegashira 15 West slot away from his roundness. And in fact, I did argue that because I predicted, I believe, Koto Eiko to take his spot. But once again, I think where we see bias kind of at the top of the Banzuke, where the guys in the Joy are going to get a little bit benefit of the doubt, there's bias against the Juryo Rikishi that has seemingly taken a hold of the Banzuke committee in the recent years. Because as we mentioned, Tochinoshin went from Juryo 5 to Maegashira 8.
In this case, I don't think it was so much mercy with Chiyomaru as it was he was running a fever. I think this was due to extenuating circumstances. It wasn't that he got injured per se in the ring, forcing him to leave. This was that he was running a fever. They just wanted to make sure that he was okay and he wasn't infected with the COVID-19. So in this case, I think the JSA was a little more lenient with and not making him fall.
You know what? You could actually be correct there. That wouldn't surprise me if that is the case. Because like I said, in the ring, he was 7-5 with 1 Fusen loss and 2 absences. So that wouldn't surprise me, but leniency and mercy is not something I usually expect from the JSA. So I will accept that theory, but the theory of their incompetent dicks is also high up there.
Oh, I haven't rolled that out either.
No, that was a really good point, Mac. I hope when I grow up, I'm as smart as you. That was
so you'll get there, Jake.
Well done, and you're a champion that I'm proud to have represent our podcast. But the other wrestler that I wanted to mention, Koto Shoho, is probably the mathematically most successful Sekitori right now that we have. He only has 15 losses ever in either of the top two divisions, much fewer than Waka Takakage. So I'm expecting him to basically just rocket to the top and stay there forever because nothing can ever change in math.
That's a fair point.
Yes.
Yeah, Koto Shoho, he has, he was only in Juryo for 3 tournaments. He got 2 9-6s, and he just got a Yusho at 12-3. So if that trend continues, he'll get 3 more wins this time around, and then 3 more wins than that, and just break math.
Yeah. And kind of an interest. Well, we'll get to it actually in a little bit after we cover the rest of the guys. So let's move on to Maegashira 16, where on the east side we're going to have Nishikigi, who I am going to make another Luck of the Banzuke candidate. He was actually my second biggest miss by 1.5 number ranks and 3 slots overall. He's only dropping 2 numbered ranks after a 6-9 record, whereas I believe there's other guys like Terano Fuji coming up from Juryo that could have easily taken his slot and knocked Nishikigi down a little further, kind of where I thought he belongs. But I mean, it's not terrible. 1.5 for anything more than 2 slots makes me feel bad at this point, so not happy about that miss. Koto Ueko is going to be your West Maegashira 16 coming up from Juryo. And let's move on to our final rank of Maegashira 17, where on the east side we will have Teru no Fuji. He is making his triumphant return to the Makuuchi division for the first time since Hatsu of 2018. And on the west side, we will have Koto Yuki, who is also making his return back to the Makuuchi division. Terano Fuji, I was off by 2 slots. I had him going in at Maegashira 16 East, kind of where I had Nishikigi slotted. And Koto Yuki, I was off by 1 slot. I had him going at Maegashira 17 East, so just had him on the wrong side of that rank.
Yeah, here's one where Mac, I think this is another good pick to show how the Banzuke works. Koto Yuki, you had getting a bigger promotion than this, despite your just supernatural clairvoyance and how Banzukes get put together, and the fact that you just trounced Ryan at this game. Koto Yuki, he was at the very top Juryo slot, and is that why you gave him such a big boost for just an 8 and 7?
Not only that, but I wasn't considering the void that was below him. So guys like Koto Shoho and Koto Ueko. Initially, in my calculations, I was only considering J5 to J1 and assuming that there would be more preference placed on the guys already in Makuuchi, that they wouldn't fall quite as far. The guys at the very bottom, say in the M14 to M17 rank, should they get a Makikoshi, then you'd have to kind of dig into it just a little bit more to determine how they're going to fall. But obviously, a 4 and 11 or a 6 and 9, something like that, you're completely out. So I gave more preference to those top J5 to J1 ranks and tried to move them ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah, They give slight preferential treatment to the guys that were in Makuuchi. Like I said, it's like the same with the Joy. It's slight preferential treatment to the guys that were in Makuuchi. I feel like they give more preference to the guys down here than they do up in the Joy. Like, they're really kicking the crap out of these Juryo guys with how low they've been ranking them in previous Banzukes. Like, I don't think we've seen anybody promoted past like Maegashira 13. From Juryo recently, whereas in the past, I mean, we talked about Takayasu. He came in at Maegashira 11. You used to see that a lot more than you have been recently. Maybe that's just the records aren't allowing for it, but they're really not promoting Juryo guys all that far anymore. So that's another. The bottom of the Banzuke area is kind of where judgment more kind of takes hold because it changes every tournament. How far are they going to drop a guy that was at the top of the Banzuke that had a winless record, like previous
Takayasu.
two, like Takayasu? He only dropped 12 ranks here at Maegashira 1, whereas Kotoyuki, he was Maegashira 3 in the previous one. He dropped all the way down to Juryo. Taka No-Show, the one before that, he was Maegashira 3, didn't get any wins. He also dropped all the way down to Juryo. So those were like 14, 15 rank drops, whereas Takayasu, he only got a 12 rank drop. Why is that? Why does Takayasu get treatment because he was Maegashira 1? Is there that much difference between 1 and 3?
Here may be one other mitigating factor, like the Chiyomaru incident. Incident. Yeah, like it was so big. But like similar to Chiyomaru, the extenuating circumstance of being a former Ozeki may be part of it. But
could be.
Like you said when we had that other discussion.
Teruno Fuji when he dropped though.
Yeah, exactly. So like there isn't consistency there, but it's the only thing I can think of where he would get such a significant bump up from what you might expect him to.
Yeah. The bottom of the Banzuke, it's just a mess of
volatile, very volatile.
Yeah, where are these guys that had severely bad records, like 4-11, 3-12, 0-15? Where are they going to end up? How far up are they going to promote the Juryo guys? Like if you have a random guy like Kaisei at Maegashira 14 with an 8-7 record, well, how far is he going to go up? Is he going to go up 4 ranks? Is he going to go up 1 or 2 ranks like regular? And it seems like the criteria changes from Basho to Basho. This has consistently been my worst part, and I think everybody's worst area of predictions of the Banzuke. Because, like, on this one, I was perfect through Maegashira 1 East, but, like, when I was wrong, I was only off by half slot. I just had 2 guys flipped around in their slot. But then we get Maegashira 10. I got guys off by 1 full rank. I got Sho Hozan, who was off by 2.5 ranks. It's just Wild West in the bottom of the Banzuke. It's just ridiculous to try to get that correct.
Nope, these are good data points. These are excellent, and will help refine my calculations. Yeah.
Something that I caught in your prediction that I wanted to just inform you of if you do this in the future. Maegashira, let's see, what rank was it? Maegashira 10 on your prediction. You had Myugiryu at Maegashira 10 East and Tokushoryu at Maegashira 10 West.
Mm-hmm.
That is just when you're doing your formulas, that is something that that will never happen. So Tokushoryu was ranked ahead of Myugiryu on this Banzuke, and they both ended up with the same record. So you're never going to have a guy that was ranked ahead of another guy when they both have the same records drop below him on the next Banzuke. So when you're kind of going through this next time and your math is telling you to do something like that, just make sure you switch those guys around because that's a situation where it just never happens.
Well, no, he had an extra factor in that he didn't believe he was going to do well at all. And his only X factor that I even tried to consider putting him ahead was his Kinboshi. But knowing that he is, again, with my own little bias and like, these guys are mainstays. These guys definitely belong at the bottom. Unfortunately, Tokushoryu has that history of, he's a Juryo mainstay. So that factored into my decision. After I looked at the numbers, I was like, no, I think he's going to continue his way to tumble, which is why I gave Myugiryu the edge in that case.
Yeah, you just gotta forget that anything has ever happened.
No, I can't do it.
You just gotta take the past and throw it in the garbage and only look at this Basho, unless maybe you're talking about that Takayasu or Chiyomaru pick. But in general, yeah, it's just this Basho is really all that matters 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
Which again, great data points to have.
Yeah. So we mentioned all the guys that were promoted up to Makuuchi, those being Wakataka Kage, Koto Shoho, Koto Ueko, Teruno Fuji, and Koto Yuki. Mentioned I said Koto quite a bit at the end there. We have 5 guys from the Sadogatake Beya, all of the Kotos, Nowaka, Shogiku, Shoho, Eiko, and Yuki. all of the guys in the same stable, so none of those guys are going to be able to face each other unless it's in a playoff at the end of the Basho in the upcoming tournament. So scheduling around that at the bottom is going to be difficult for the schedule makers.
This will be interesting.
Much like the way that Mac said that, according to how the input was.
Mac, the way that it delayed your voice, it took like 3 seconds for the word interesting to come out of your mouth.
Oh, cool. It paused for dramatic effect.
Pregnant pause. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting note. But as we had 5 guys go up to Makuuchi, that means we had 5 guys drop down to Juryo. Those being Tochiozan, Tsurugisho, Azumaryu, Dayamami, and Meisei. And luckily for the first time in, I believe, 2 Basho, I got all the people that were going to be promoted and all the people going to be demoted correct. I know I was a little on the fence about whether or not Meisei or Nishikigi was going to go down, but that did end up the way I thought it would. So looking at my overall stats, as I mentioned at the top, I got 24 bullseyes out of a possible 42. So that's 57% exact correct predictions. My previous best being 72%. I had 4 at the correct rank, but on the wrong side. So that's 28 at the correct rank. And that's 67% hit rate there. Just going over my total slots that I missed on this one. I missed overall people by 30 slots. That show Hozan one really sticking out and hurting me on this one. Previous best, I missed a total of 12 slots, with my average error this time being 0.714 ranks. My previous best average error being 0.286 ranks. So not bad on this one, but far from my best performance overall. But it is 1 total miss better than my last prediction. 30 versus 31 total misses on this one. Mac, purveyor of all things that are Banzuke, seer of the future, do you want to go over your stats for this one?
No, I feel like you've had your time to shine. You continue on. You're doing great.
I can do that. So, as I mentioned, my worst guess...
He's so cute. I love doing this for him. Keep going, Ryan.
He's adorable.
He's just so adorable.
I can read your stats, Mac.
No,
you do it.
No, they don't need to know how awesome I was. Continue.
No, just take our word for it.
All right. So as I mentioned before, my worst guess was Sho Hozan by 5 slots, but that's not my worst ever guess, which was by 8 slots. I had him in. Nope, that's a note that I forgot to delete from the previous one. Ignore that last sentence.
See, again, he's just adorable.
Oh,
my
Ryan.
second worst guess was Nishikigi being off by 3 slots there. So just looking at the Banzuke as a whole, our biggest jumpers up the Banzuke is going to be Aoyama, going up 9 ranks from Maegashira 13 to Maegashira 4. And then we also had Takanosho going up 7 ranks from Maegashira 9 to Maegashira 2. Our biggest dropper on this Banzuke is going to be Takayasu, dropping from Maegashira 1 to Maegashira 13. And we have 12 Rikishi that are at their career high. Let's say them all. Asanoyama, Shodai, Daisho, Yutakayama, Takanosho, Kiribayama, Kageyaki, Terutsuyoshi, Ishiura, Koto no Waka, Wakatakakage. From henceforth, those 2 will be referred to as Koto no Wakatakakage and Koto Shoho. We have 1 Rikishi making his Makuuchi debut, and that is Koto Shoho. So if you've been following along with our snub of the Banzukes and luck of the Banzukes, you will notice that there were no snub of the Banzukes, as this was such a lucky Banzuke overall. No one really was undeservedly ranked lower than what they deserved. So nobody's getting a snub of the Banzuke on this one. Do you agree with that prognosticator of prognosticators, Mac?
I would agree with you. I'll give this one to you.
I would say that all of us got the snub of the Banzuke because Koto Yuki is back in the top division and we have to watch him wrestle.
Okay, all right. Jake has a point.
Maybe he'll get hurt again.
No, Ryan, we don't wish ill on
Jesus, Ryan, that's inappropriate.
No, time out. You go into timeout right now.
This is why Mac is our champion.
I'll go into timeout in 5 minutes when this podcast is over. We still have a Luck of the Banzuke champion to award. So we had 4 candidates. We had Kiribayama, who jumped up 5 ranks after a 9-6 record, but this is more of a cumulative award for him as he's jumped from Maegashira 17 to Maegashira 3 in just 2 basho. We have Ryuden, who only dropped 1 numbered rank after a 6-9 record. While not unprecedented, very rare to see that at the rank of Maegashira 5 to 6. We had Sho Hozan, who only dropped 4 numbered ranks. Like some other Rikishi that were ranked 4 and 11, they only dropped 4 ranks. But unlike Miyogiryu, he was the only one where there were other options available to put ahead of him, making his small drop a little bit more surprising. And I also had Nishikigi on there, only dropping 2 ranks after that 6-9 record, where similar to Sho Hozan, there were other options for Juryo Rikishi to be promoted ahead of him. So Mac, as this is your first time on a Banzuke review episode, out of those 4, who do you think deserves to be our Luck of the Banzuke champion on this Banzuke?
I would say in this case, Ryuden. Honestly, I think with a 6-9 record, he should have dropped a lot more than that. I think he was the luckiest person here.
I would agree with you there. So Ryuden is your official Luck of the Banzuke champion for the Natsu / Nagoya / Aki basho, whatever the hell this Banzuke is actually utilized.
So real quick on that note, what is our understanding on what happens with this Banzuke if they do cancel this basho for coronavirus concerns? Do they just use this same Banzuke in the next tournament that does happen?
I can't think of any reason why they wouldn't do that.
Have there been any cases in the past where they've canceled several basho moving forward and stuck and haven't changed the Banzuke in this case?
No. I mean, we've discussed recently the Banzuke, the basho that they have canceled, like the one for the match fixing scandal, the one during like World War II. I'm not entirely sure when they created the Banzukes for those, if they did it like this, dropped it like this month, and then say the Natsu basho doesn't happen. I don't know if they did it like that, where it came out and then the basho didn't happen and they just use it on the next one, or it's like, okay, we know this basho isn't going to happen. We're not going to drop the Banzuke until like 2 weeks before the next basho that happens. I'm not sure, but I don't know why you wouldn't use this one, because you're not going to have any other data to move people around. So we need to follow up on Jake and Mac's guess for what my worst prediction would be. And unfortunately, they both missed that. Jake thought that I was going to miss the Kiribayama jump from Maegashira 8 to Maegashira 5. Looking back at the stats, yes, nailed that exactly correct. Suck it, Jake. And Mac thought that Hokuto Fuji, I had him ranked a little too low. Looking once again back at the stats and how I did. Yeah, I believe that one was also exactly correct prediction on my part. What do you have to say for yourselves? And more importantly, what do you have to say to me for proving you both incredibly wrong?
I would say, Jake, our little boy's just growing up so fast.
He's Look at him. So good. I'm just hoping that one of these times he can actually nab the championship for being the best competitive Banzuke picker out of the GSB hosts.
Now, he'll keep trying at it. He'll keep working, and bless his heart, he'll give it his all.
I am going to keep working at it because this is the best part of this podcast for me. I will point out that in Kintama Yama's Guess the Banzuke contest, I did finish in the top 10 of all people that submitted a Banzuke for this basho.
Yeah, you're lucky Mac didn't join that one. That one,
as I said, it's like, look at him, Jake. He's growing up so fast. He's already submitting it. You know what? I don't want to skew any of his numbers. That's why I don't participate.
Honestly, I'm just proud of him.
Right? Ryan, you just keep doing you, buddy.
I will. And once this episode is over, I can't like physically harm you guys because we're like so far away and will be for months But I'll remember. I'll give you both a slap upside the head for being asshats.
You.
Do want to shout out my Banzuke sensei and sage, Leonid Krugliak, I believe. I apologize for probably mispronouncing your name, but he is the guy who does the Banzuke Crystal Ball over at Tachiai. He actually won the Guess the Banzuke contest this time. His first ever Guess the Banzuke win. So shout out to him, LK Sumo over at Tachiai. Good job there. Hopefully I'll be able to join you in the ranks of winners someday.
Someday maybe he too can be as good as Mac.
Indeed.
Now that I will allow. So that is going to do it for our Natsu Banzuke review. If you enjoyed this podcast, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service.
You can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Carrier Pigeon, and all the good shit, bulletin boards about town. Our blog is GrandSumoBreakdown.wordpress.com.
Mac is talking, but he's just not. There it is. Mac, why don't you start that over? For some reason, you weren't coming through.
Again? Oh,
yeah.
Even the computer denies my greatness. If you have any questions, comments, or corrections, or if you just want to tell me how awesome I am, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or give us a call at 805-613-7866 to tell you how awesome Jake is. 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO. And, of course, give Ryan that big shout-out. The little boy's just kicking ass right now. I'm so proud of him.
Kick somebody's ass, I'll tell you what. So, like we said, we don't know what's going to be happening moving forward quite yet. If the Natsu Basho is moving ahead as usual, we will have our preview out in a couple of weeks. Typically, it would be out next week, but as the Basho is definitely delayed 2 weeks, we will also be delaying our preview if it does go ahead. The decision about that Basho is going to be made by May 6th, is what we're told. So if it does go forward, it will start on Sunday, May 24th, and run until Sunday, June 7th. So a little bit different schedule this year, no matter what. In the meantime, we definitely have plans for some more bonus episodes to come out. So keep an eye out for those. And until then, we will see you later.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high
and keep moving forward.